But would you agree that at some point somebody will use whatever crisis they are in their life to shake them enough to be able to pursue maybe a different
Yeah,
path?
a crisis, absolutely. For some people, a crisis can absolutely shake you, and it can change you. There's no question about it. But that doesn't come from a pick me up. The crisis itself will do that. That doesn't come from crisis plus prescription. No, there's only crisis. If the crisis is going to do something, it's going to be crisis equals change. It's not going to be crisis plus prescription equals change.
I agree. But at some point, do you think that, when somebody's dealing, and I've got some people who were very good friends who've lost very significant businesses. It's very difficult not to assume that they're shaken, that their confidence are shaken, that their mind's playing mind games with themselves. And at some point they have to pick themselves up. It's their own responsibility.
All of that is true. Why wouldn't? Of course they would be shaken. Anyone would. But that's a statement of fact. But what becomes non-fact is when you say, "What can you say to help them?" That's a farce. That's when everything falls apart.
So let's not talk about helping them. Let's talk about the last time maybe you faced a crisis. Was there a turning point that enabled you to cross over to the other side and just become a different version of yourself?
I don't think it's about turning points. I don't think it's about these supernova type of events that happen and then things change. That's a media myth that everyone likes to ask. And at what point in your life did you? That's all just for cameras. It's not true. Nothing ever happens in one point. How crisis really can make a huge impact on someone's life is when they examine the crisis, when the crisis makes them look inward, as opposed to when the crisis makes them try to do something to feel better, or to get out of the crisis. So when everyone is having crisis after crisis after crisis, and the more that one becomes acutely aware of the fact that he is having one crisis after another, that is the person whom it will have the possibility of a more lasting impact on, as opposed to the person who says, "This is my latest crisis. How can I get out of it?"
So it's an internal examination.
Yeah, but it's not a doing. No, but it's not a doing. It's not about internal exam. Everything that you say drips with the blood of doing. Right? It's an internal. So now go internally examine. I mean, I'm saying the person who does is the person who who has the possibility of achieving a lasting benefit from a crisis. The person who does, not the person who was told to do, not the person who was suggested that they should do. The person who already does, not because they were told to, but because something in them just did.
But don't you think that at some point, if somebody's listening to something or reading something that you did, and that ignites that flame,
if it ignites the flame, that's only because they were at a certain degree of internal evolution to where it ignites. You are correct. There are things that can get someone over the hill and over the hump. That is correct. That absolutely does happen. But that never comes. But that'll come through the hearing of the words, not through the hearing of any advice.
Yeah, well, let's assume we're not giving anybody advice. We're having a conversation, right?
But all of your questions are centered
I can't
around
help it.
advice.
Right?
But no, I don't. And I don't want you to help it. I just have to answer with silence then, because I'm not interested.